Chapter 3 review, going into the last group of problems over section 3.5. Just want to, a couple of things. Remember that parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. I think even on your test there's a few fill in the blanks on definitions. Like parallel lines have the same slope, perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. There's another one too. Look up the definition, make sure you know what a perpendicular bisector is. Because a perpendicular bisector, I feel like that comes up as a vocabulary term on your test if I remember it right. Now 17 through 20, this group is asking us to do parallel lines, so we're looking for same slopes. Parallel lines have the same slopes. And I had done some 3.5 problems yesterday and went kind of quickly. I'm going to be going a little bit quickly today too because I know there's people that have this worked out. If you don't have it worked out, you're able to access this video later today. It'll be public as soon as it uploads. We're given the point 3 and -4. And that point has to be on a line that's parallel to y equals -x plus 8. So the slope of this line is -1. And I need that slope in order to write the equation for this. And I'm going to do that in point slope form. And that was on our paper in our notes from yesterday as well. We're going to go in and replace the y1, the m, and the x1. So in the case of number 17, we're going to have y minus -4, or y plus 4 equals -1 times the quantity x minus 3. I'm going to go through, distribute, and put this into y equals. Y plus 4 equals -1x plus 3. I'm going to take 4 away from both sides. Y is equal to -1x minus 1. I actually would take either of these equations. You don't have to go through and distribute unless it says put it in slope-intercept form. I'll answer your question when we get done here. 18. Same idea with 18. It has to go through the point 6,5. There's my xy I have to use. The equation of the line it has to be parallel to is a half x minus 7. So I'm going to have to use this point, and the slope for my new line is going to be a half because it's parallel. Y minus 5 equals a half of x minus -6 or x plus 6. You can stop off there or distribute and put it into y equals 1/2 x plus 3. If I add 5 to both sides, y is equal to 1/2 x plus 8. So this line is parallel to this one. They both have the same slope of 1/2. This one hits the y-axis at -7. This one hits the y-axis at +8. It was it was x minus 6. Okay, number 19. We're given the point. Again, there's people that have this done, and I'm going to keep working. If you can't do it as quickly as I am, that's why I publish these videos. You should have had attempts going already before you walked in here. The slope of this line is, we're still in the make parallel lines. Slope of that line is 3. I'm going to use this point. Oops, not x. Start out with y, lady. Y minus 0 equals 3 times the quantity x minus 2. This one's actually reasonably easy to put into slope-intercept form. Y minus 0 can just be y. It's equal to 3x minus 6. Same slope. This y-intercept is -5. This y-intercept is -6. 20, the last one for parallel practice. The point you start out with is 3 and -1. It's got the line has to go through this point and be parallel to y equals 1/3 x plus 10. The slope of my line is also going to be 1/3 then, with this x and y and my slope of 1/3. Y minus -1 is going to be y plus 1 equals 1/3 times x minus 3. Now,
good morning, public, on this rainy morning. Due to the rain, we are going to move the scheduled fire drill for today to tomorrow at the end of first hour. So once again, cancel today the fire drill, tomorrow end of first hour, weather permitting. Thank you.
X minus 2. So this equation of the line is going to be parallel to this. The one we started with was a y-intercept of 10. This one has a y-intercept of -2. That was the 4 problems practicing parallel lines. Those went along with, we were looking at our notes. You guys had an example of your notes. I don't remember which one this was, but you had a couple problems with practicing parallel. We're going to go to perpendicular now. Number 21 through 24 has perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Perpendicular lines, slopes are opposite reciprocals. (21) we need to go through the point 6, -1. It needs to be perpendicular to the line y equals -2x plus 8. The opposite reciprocal of this slope, -2, is going to be a positive 1/2. So my line has to go through xy with this slope. Y minus -1, y plus 1 equals 1/2 times x minus 6. If I distribute my half, y plus 1 equals 1/2 of x minus 3. If I want to get this in y equals, I subtract 1 from both sides. Y is equal to 1/2 of x minus 4. This is going to be perpendicular to this line. It's got a slope that's the opposite reciprocal. This line hits the y-axis at 8. This one hits the y-axis at -4. Number 22, we got the point 0 and 3. And it has to be perpendicular to y equals -1/2 x minus 6. Now, I don't know if anybody put any thought to this, but if your x value is 0 and your y value is 3, that's the y-intercept. That's on the y-axis. That's the y-intercept. It's on the y-axis. So if that's going to be, I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. The b is 3. My slope has got to be, again, we're still perpendicular. It's got to be the opposite reciprocal in -1/2, so it's going to be +2. So I have to write my equation. Now, if you did point slope form, you'd wind up with the same equation in the end. But I'm going to write this simply as 2x plus 3. Y equals mx plus b. And again, I recognize that the point 0, 3 is on the y-axis at 3. If you see 0 as your x value, you have your b. If you see 0 as your x value, you have your b. 23, the point 8 and 2, perpendicular to, it's got to go through, let's see, it's got to go through 8 and 2, perpendicular to 4x minus 7. The slope of this line is, the slope of the line it's got to be perpendicular to is 4. And so the slope of my new line has got to be the opposite reciprocal of 4, which is going to be -1/4. So then I'm going to go through and do y minus 2 equals -1/4 times x minus 8. And if you go through and distribute that, y minus 2 equals -1/4 x plus 1/4 of 8 is 2. Negative times negative is where my plus came from here. If I add 2 to both sides, I'm going to finish this in y slope intercept form. Y equals -1/4 x plus 4. Last problem in this group, 24. The point is -1 and 5. It's got to be a line going through that perpendicular to y equals 1/7 x plus 4. So the slope of my new line has to be the opposite reciprocal of 1/7, which is going to be -7, and it's got to go through the point -1 and 5. Y minus 5 equals -7 times x minus -1 or x plus 1. If I distribute, y minus 5 equals -7x minus 7. If I add 5 to both sides, y is going to be equal to -7x minus 2. It's perpendicular to this one. Slopes are opposite reciprocals. Now, there's something else that is on your test that we talked about this in class yesterday, but I want to get you guys just a little bit more practice on this. There is not one of these questions here asked you to find a slope from an equation that wasn't in slope-intercept form. That's what my concern is right now, is that you never had an equation here that wasn't in slope-intercept form. So I just want to practice a couple things. Add this. Solve for y to get y equals mx plus b to pull a slope off. So if you've got something that's not in y equals mx plus b and you need the slope, you have to go back and solve it for y. So we're going to do a couple examples together. We're going to add these, and I'll slow my roll here. First one, negative x plus 2y equals 14. So the slope is the number that's stuck to x, but it's only when it's in slope-intercept form. So I've got to get my y all by itself, undo everything around there, so the x and the y-intercept are on the right. The first thing I'm going to do is just solve for, or I'm sorry, I'm going to add x. I'm going to get x out of there. Now, once x is gone from the left, I'm at 2y equals, and I'm getting close. I got an x and 14 to put together. They're not like, so I just have to write it that way. I don't have the slope yet. Right now, the coefficient of x is 1, but I still have y multiplied by a 2. So when I go and undo the y multiplied by a 2, that means I've got to come over here and divide every single thing in the equation by 2. Every piece of the equation has to be divided by 2 to get the 2 off the y. That's going to give me 1/2 x plus 7. Now I know that this slope is a half. You're going to have to do that a couple of times. Let me try one more here. Second one. This isn't part of your review, but I'm adding it because you need it. 5x plus 2y equals 4. Again, I've got to get y all by itself to figure out what the slope is, because the slope is not 5. It doesn't matter what's stuck to x until it's in that y equals form. It doesn't matter what's stuck to x until it's in a y equals, and then we have that mx plus b structure. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take 5 x's away from both sides. I'm going to wind up with 2y equals negative 5 times x plus 4. Still not in y equals. Just like our last problem, we've got to divide everything in here by 2. Y equals, and I'm just going to simply write this as negative 5/2 x. It's going to be plus 2. The only thing I really care about is, what's that slope? The number stuck to x is negative 5/2. You guys want another one? Another one like this? Let's try negative 3x plus y. Let's try one more of these. Negative 3x, so what is this, my third one? Negative 3x plus y equals negative 4. What am I going to do first to get y alone? Actually, it's going to go pretty easily. Just add 3 x's? Sounds good. Plus 3 x's. I don't know if I have to go any further. 3x minus 4. What's the slope? Simply 3. Let's try one more. Let's try one more, please and thank you. How about number 4? Let's solve this one for y. 4x plus 2y equals 6. Got to get y alone. What am I going to do? Get this guy over on the other side. We got to have it in that y equals mx plus b. I'm down to 2y equals, I got a negative 4 x's plus 6. And then to finish this one, I've got to divide everything by 2 to get what the slope is. So I get down to y equals negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2x. That's going to be plus 3. The slope here would be negative 2. Again, you have to go get those slopes, because if you're going to write parallel equations of parallel lines or perpendicular lines, you have to have your slope, your first line in y slope intercept form in order to grab that. Now you could potentially get, let me see, if you had something presented to you in point slope form, Like this, we were in point slope form back here doing a problem. You could get the slope off of here, you know it's the number that's outside the x minus quantity. So if you have point slope form, it's easy, but if it's in the standard form, like those extra examples I showed you, you've got to solve for y.